JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Had a great July 4th. It's July 5th. We have about 40 minutes to the open. Talk really quick about the markets, names I'm looking at, some of the names I'm holding, go from there. S&P coming in to today, another record high, back-to-back record highs for the S&P, and looks like we might add to those gains here this morning. Futures are trading slightly higher after the jobs report for June came in mixed. So the unemployment rate went up from to 4.1%, estimates for 4%. And then the jobs created, what bested estimates, 206,000 jobs created versus 190K estimates. But then there was a reduction. There was backward revisions to the previous 2 months of over 100,000 jobs, which is some of the reason why the unemployment rate rose. Uh, yeah, of course, I'll put in a watch list this morning. It it seems like every time we have data points like this, there'll be a whole slew of uh, recession articles coming out over the weekend. Oh, to start a recession, here we go. Um, Makes for good clickbait, and we had this recession talk back at the end of 2022. Uh, once the Fed started getting into the rate hike cycle, that they were pretty much forcing the economy into a recession, which you see how strong some of the data has been over the last 6 months. That has not been the case. I mean, at some point there will be one, right? So I guess if you keep writing those negative, bearish, recession coming articles over the weekend, one of those is going to be right, and then they'll be able to say Joe Schmo who called the recession in 20 whatever it is. So anyway, so resistance looking at upper Bollinger Band 552.16. And then I mentioned on Wednesday and Tuesday the 550 handle. If we close over 550 on the SPY, I think that'll bode well. The S&P is up nearly 1.4% this week. So even if we do fall a little bit, I wouldn't be too concerned. What I not that I'm concerned of, but the thing I'm really looking at is, and I keep talking about, is the small caps trading in a tight range on Wednesday, closed in slightly in the red despite the market rally. So really want to see those get going. All right, so now some individual names. If you didn't listen to the rant, I posted in the chat room yesterday. I posted on a watch list, which will be out in a second. I did a quick rant on Baidu. Sometimes I want to type up a quick piece to read, but sometimes it's easier just to get it all out in a rant. So that's what I did. China stocks were closed in the red overnight, so the China ADRs are gapping lower this morning. But if anything, I think it just opens an opportunity to add more strikes here on Baidu. So I'll probably go further out on August, depending what those look like. If it holds maybe 88 or so, I think it was 88 yesterday in the pre-market. Not yesterday, Wednesday, before moving higher. So I wouldn't rule out a red to green move here. It's trading 88.65 right now, close at 90 on Wednesday. I put my target 115 or so in the coming weeks, which is like a 28% move. A lot of backdrop. There's great. If you didn't listen to it, just in a nutshell, I think the tailwind for Baidu is the AI side of the business, which, if you know, China is vetting pretty much any AI bots in order to approve them to be allowed in China. And it looks like no US company is going to do that. So similar to what Baidu is back in the day when they beat Google at the search engine, they kicked Google out of China. Google left China as a search engine competitor because they just couldn't get entrenched. I think the similar thing is going to happen here with Baidu in regards to AI. But Baidu's already talking with Tesla to have their AI for the maps. They're already in talks with Apple, and I think that narrative and story is going to continue, and all it's going to do is pad their revenues and profits in the coming quarters and years. And I don't think a lot of that's baked in. 75% of their core revenue is still the search business. So if they can flip the switch and go outside the core business, which I think AI is going to do, they're already starting to charge for their earning bot. That's probably not baked into the stock. I think it heads much higher. Only trades 1.5 times revenue for a tech name. Anyway, so rants for other days. I'll continue to talk about Baidu. Whether I'm bullish or not doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the market does. So hopefully it finally starts to find some footing here and bounces. So that's Baidu. And the pincher setup that's the kicker. Typically when you see a pincher setup, especially this tight, the if you look at the chart, the pinch is extremely tight. And then it typically precedes a large outside move. And speaking of pinchers, Celsius Holdings, that's not pinching as tight, but it's treading water here. Once that starts to get some life, I keep saying patient. I think it's only a matter of time before it starts to run 7, 10, 15% in a very short time frame at Celsius Holdings. Once it starts to break out, if it gets over 60, I'll look for some other strikes outside my July calls. Roku resumed its uptrend after closing higher 8 days in a row, then a red session on Tuesday. up again on Wednesday, up 1.5%. Locked all my July 65s in. If it starts to move over 63 today, I might look for some more strikes. I don't know if I'll get August or some more, maybe some inexpensive July higher strikes. Something I'll be looking at. But as I've been saying, I think the once it starts picking up steam, the FOMO will pick in. Will start to kick in. The stock will start filling gaps. There's gaps right near 70, and there's a gap up near 90, but I don't know if they'll get there outside of some earnings. Reddit added some spec calls on Tuesday, and then the stock kind of chopped around on Wednesday before closing in the green. IPO smash up. Take a look. I think it's up 15% so far this week, and that's on a holiday shortened week so far. So only 3.5 days. Excuse me, 2.5 days. If it finds some mojo today, I could see it really starting to squeeze. That's Reddit. I probably won't add anything until into next week. I'll just hold the lotto calls depending on what they open in the morning. If I have some premium there, I can lock in. I'll close them out. Chewy down 6 days in a row. One, two, three, nope, 5 days. Yeah, 6 days in a row. Down here at 23.88. It's funny. I mean, before the big run up, before I got my calls, it was down here. I think it trades over $30 based on its own merits, even outside of a possible live stream from Roaring Kitty. You have to think he's going to do some kind of live stream unless his lawyers are telling him not to do that anymore. And I look at the story and the back-to-back quarters of return to growth, the accelerated, well, not the accelerated, the stock buyback program. They also bought another $500 million of shares from a stakeholder and retired those shares. These are all, I think, bullish, net bullish, and I think it trades into the 30s and beyond based on its own merits, with the kicker being more involvement by Roaring Kitty. So that's Chewy. I probably just sit on my hands on Chewy for right now with what I have. And if it shows some strength, maybe I'll add some more strikes. Still looking at Universal Display, gapped higher on Wednesday on another upgrade. And then once it gapped higher, it just chopped around pretty much for the rest of the session, hit highs at 10 o'clock, and then chopped around in the 217s, 218s. 230, 235 plus is coming on that one. July strikes probably to 230s. I was looking at 230s. They were too expensive once it gapped higher. So I'll be revisiting those today. Wingstop is my put hedge, and it won't take much for it to trade under $400. Keep talking about that. The overall casual dining sector has been taking on the chin lately, and Wing has been one of the few names that has kind of been resilient. And at some point, there's going to be just a little bit of sellers will come in, and then it'll just be a snowball effect. 50-day moving average is down to 394, so that would probably be the first target. And then last but not least, here's VKTX, and just so disappointing since I got the July strikes. You have reports, is it Seglitude, however you pronounce it? There are reports out Tuesday, Wednesday that there's rare cases of blindness when you take their GLP-1 drug. I don't know if that's some of the cause to the weakness lately, but as I keep saying, it seems like every one or two instances of some kind of side effect gets blown out of proportion, and everybody thinks, oh, you take a GLP-1 drug, you're going to go blind. I mean, so many people have taken it. You would think if there's the possibility of that happening, it would be so much more mainstream in regards to the coverage. But hey, that's just me. Not going to add any more strikes on VKTX until either it shows some strength or the uh, market starts to, if it starts to 60, 62.50, somewhere in there, may look to get some strikes there. I'm trying to think of some of these other names. I mean, Turn, it looked like it was going to break out Wednesday up to $7. Hopefully, finally, this is maybe the start of it and can really start to break out. AMD was all the way up to 165 in the pre-market. Just a tough one. I don't know if I'll add some strikes into next week just yet. Dell just sitting here at 142. I think that's about it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on the audio later. Oh, and Square. Square's the last one. It was up to 65.18 yesterday. Tuesday. Excuse me. I keep messing up the days. It was up to 65 on Wednesday. It was up on 65 on Tuesday. And both times it couldn't hold that level. Key spot. Once that holds and breaks, I think it's off to the races. And that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.